you've been a busy man for the past 48 hours, and I'm sure yourself and the delegates are fairly tired, but some are happier than most.
Well, absolutely. And tonight here in Zurich, after what has been a long day, is a new FIFA president, 45-year-old law graduate, Gianni Infantino, who has spent the last 7 years as the General Secretary of UEFA, the European football body, and now is the new president of FIFA. He won in the second round of voting, and just to explain how that broke down, in the first round, neither Sheikh Salman or Gianni Infantino managed to gain enough votes, the two-third majority. So it went to a second round of votes. And what happened is the vast majority of all of those people who had voted for Prince Ali switched their votes over, and they went to a comfortable majority to Gianni Infantino. He ended up with 115. He only needed 105 votes of the 207. But he got 115, which was a comfortable victory enough in the second round for Gianni Infantino, and he was elected the new president. We heard there just in his speech some of his words. He also added, touched on obviously the corruption allegations ongoing in FIFA, saying that FIFA had been through some sad times and times of crisis, but that those are now over, and that he wants to rebuild the image of FIFA and the respect of the organisation and of football as a whole. And that is the mission which he has in his new role as president from tonight.
Let's take it right from there, Dan. A lot of people saying as well, is it a good thing because Infantino has apparently links with Sepp Blatter, the former disgraced president of FIFA? Will we see much change? A lot of people saying, same old FIFA, just a younger, different Sepp Blatter, so to speak.
Well, that is the concern of many campaigners who we have been speaking to tonight. Gianni Infantino grew up in a town not far from Sepp Blatter, and where he grew up, so they have close links. He has not been a direct sort of FIFA body, but has been working on the world stage of football for a number of years. One of his big policies was to promise more money for the countries around the world involved in FIFA and those federations and associations, and many campaigners say that this was simply an old school case of a FIFA bigwig throwing money at the possible delegates and gaining those votes. However, he believes that the money should flow from the presidency, saying the money does not belong to the FIFA presidency, it belongs to the FIFA nations, and that money will go to helping developing countries increase their football presence. And it remains to be seen. But he, of course, what he has to do is implement the reforms which have been voted through just before the presidency election, a raft of, for FIFA, pretty radical reforms. This isn't an organisation which is used to bringing in any types of reforms, but now it has done, and those reforms, including the revelation of the salaries of some of the FIFA senior staff. We will see limited terms. The Gianni Infantino will only be able to serve 3 terms as president. We won't see the long-running presidencies which we saw with Sepp Blatter. And also more work on human rights and increasing women's rights in football as well. Those are the reforms which Gianni Infantino must now work very swiftly to implement in the organisation.
Let's come back to the first round. In fact, before even voting started, we had South Africa's, candidate, Tokozile. You had a chat to them yesterday, and yesterday he was still a confident man going to these elections. But just before that happened, before the vote even began, he'd spoken about a man, a soldier who would die with his boots on. He announces his withdrawal from the race. What did you make of that?
Well, yes, and last night when I questioned him, he didn't admit that he would be standing down. He will have known then that during his speech he would announce that his campaign would be suspended, and he pulled out of the race. It didn't really come as a huge surprise. He didn't have the backing of any of the major confederations around the world, and so it didn't, as I say, come as a surprise to myself and many other people that he stood down after what has been described by many as a lackluster campaign. It certainly wasn't on the level that we saw other front runners campaigning at, but those that withdrawal during his speech before the first round of votes certainly saw some votes being spread elsewhere. We don't know exactly where those will go, where those went. In the end, it doesn't really matter. But he has certainly stood down now. I don't think it's the last we'll see of him. He said that he would like to serve under a new FIFA president, and he told us last night that he does not want to see FIFA scrapped. We thought he may be in favour of a new type of organisation, which of course some campaigners are calling for. However, that doesn't seem the case. He said he would never like to see FIFA scrapped, so we may well see Tokozile getting a role under Gianni Infantino. That remains to be seen whether or not he'll be selected for any role.
Well, tell you what, Dan, on Monday, the two of them were in Robben Island looking as if they're best buddies. And prior to that, there was talk that Tokozile would be, you know, sending his vote if he was jumped out of the first round to Prince Khalifa. But there is talk, rather, that there could be something for Tokozile in the Infantino cabinet, so to speak, something fairly up.
Yes, and I think that is something we may well see in the coming weeks or so as the new FIFA body is really put together, and that comes as part of the packages of reforms. And you're right, we did see them being very pally, and they went Gianni Infantino, of course, in South Africa visiting Robben Island, and Nelson Mandela and Tokozile's campaign has been very based, of course, on the experiences. He was jailed alongside Nelson Mandela, and he brought up some of the quotes in his closing speech here today. And I think that link between the two former candidates and now new president will certainly see Mr. Tokozile possibly gain a position under the reign of Gianni Infantino.
Yeah. Dan, wrap it up for us. We've got a minute to go. Overall, what should we expect from this FIFA? Is it early days? We do know that Infantino's got, well, the first term starting now, 2015 to 2019. Just wrap it up for us, please.
Well, I think it's a fundamentally huge day for FIFA. Sepp Blatter, who was not here this evening, we know that it's understood he was in his FIFA flat in the centre of Zurich, and technically he is now nothing to do with the organisation, even though he stood down at the end of last year. He has now nothing to do with it, and he is banned for the next 6 years. So this is a monumental stage for this organisation. Many campaigners still believe that the new president is too close to the old regime. It's all about money and deals done behind closed doors. Gianni Infantino will be under extreme scrutiny to prove that that is not the case in the coming months.
Dan Whitehead, SABC News correspondent, speaking to us from Zurich. Thank you very much for your efforts. You've done a great job for us, keeping us up to date on as far as the FIFA election is concerned. Go have a break, mate. Thank you very much. That was Dan Whitehead, as I said, speaking to us from Zurich. We take